All right, welcome back. Your call's coming up in the next segment at 877-590-5525. Got one line open at 877-590-5525. We'll get to everybody from Canada, Texas, New Hampshire, Las Vegas, Tennessee. I see you all there. All right, so the government, which isn't the government, it's been taken over by private international organizations. That's what the New World Order is. It's global government of and by a select group of Fortune 100 controlling central governments. They run around purchasing lies to put on the news that checkpoints are good, secret arrest is good, body scanners that scan your naked body and store it on government computers at airports is freedom. The CPS is good, kidnapping children with no due process, and covering up the fact that because they're advertisers, the news can't report that the state CPS and Child Protective Services systems are 5 times more likely to abuse or kill children. So they sweep it under the rug, the rape rooms, the torture camps, how they murder them, how they fly them out of the country, how most major CPS heads at the state level are known convicted pedophiles. Oh, you don't believe me? Just Google that. You'll have mainstream news when it comes out. It still slips out here and there. Again, that's just one little example of how all of this works. So fake TV news, widespread and undisclosed, and they pose on the TV news, nationally and locally, telling you that mercury is good for you. It's the law to take vaccines. You'll be arrested if you don't. And the public just believes it. Ladies and gentlemen, the level of lying is so bad, I can't even, there's so many lies, I can't even cover it all. You have a bankrupt, criminal, dominant media. They're owned by the very same banks and brokerage firms that staged the economic collapse we are now witnessing. I'm going to get to that later. Big new developments there. Here's another one on the lying front. This is out of the London Telegraph. Now, I was already aware of this information by interviewing top scientists who've been complaining about it for years, but this is the first time I've seen it in mainstream news really lay it out. They just falsify the reports of the Earth heating up. They just lie and put in fake data, the U.S. government does, and these other private groups, and Al Gore's little buddy who's the main fearmonger. You can go read this story on the Drudge Report. It's we can link through the Telegraph. It's the world has never seen such freezing heat. And I love, there's thousands of comments on the story below, and if you read them, it's all scientists saying, look at this. And they'll put a link up to the year's index, say, from a weather station in Antarctica, or a weather station in Dallas, Texas, or a weather station in New Mexico. And then they link to what the U.S. government is claiming and what Al Gore is claiming, and it will show that in every case it's lies. They just lie. The Antarctic to the north and the Arctic to the south both had record cold so far this year. And they're growing so fast, each ice shelf has grown over 30%, closing sea lanes that haven't been closed in over 100 years. The Arctic ice sheets are growing so fast. By the way, so is Mars. Mars ice caps are just exploding right now. The entire solar system, the planets that had ice caps, had been getting smaller for the last 100 years. This was all marked down by universities with telescopes. Now they're exploding in size, not because of your SUV, because the sun just cooled down. The coldest winter on record is really 1930, but they've only been keeping records for about 200 years. Things are cooling down fast, ladies and gentlemen, plunging. Now, I don't need to see all these documents. I don't need to see that the U.S. government's lying. I don't need to go, I know that. Now, the local weather stations and governments, and other ones aren't. In fact, they're all going, wait a minute, all the numbers you use for your model are a lie. And then they get caught. This is fraud, ladies and gentlemen. This is how they operate. But I saw Robert Kennedy Jr. on PBS today, and I only watched him about 20 minutes, and then I flipped over some other channels. But the point, and I flipped back, and there were more lies, and there were so many lies. I was writing notes. I had to get physically off the treadmill. That's when I watch TVs and write notes. And that's why I said, forget it. My workout's more important than this. I can't jog and jump off and write notes. I'm just going to flip to something else. But in 1 minute, I heard him tell 3 lies. 1 minute. Now all these are easily verified lies in seconds. The guy they're talking about being the environmental chief who's going to basically, like the mafia, squeeze money out of everybody and all human activity. He said we're going to have a carbon-free economy. Carbon will be outlawed. Now that right there, ladies and gentlemen, I mean, carbon is in everything. Everything you do. All industry is connected to carbon. Carbon is not bad. It's part of life. We're a carbon-based life form. That's why this is such a joke. Plants breathe carbon dioxide. He went on to say the United States only has 1% of the world's oil and natural gas. Ladies and gentlemen, what the federal government admits in Alaska is as much oil as is in Saudi Arabia. They just won't let us have it. There is a 600 square mile area starting about 70 miles up the coast of Louisiana, and I've linked to this. It's official government announcements. They found it in the 70s. They laid it off use. More oil than Saudi Arabia. 1 600 square mile area in our water. Okay, Jack? Anywhere you drill in Texas deep enough. I mean, they're drilling. Fort Worth looks like a oil field now. They got oil rigs. They're in people's yards, the gas fields. It's just everywhere. From Fort Worth to Houston now, they have discovered a field, ladies and gentlemen, gas-wise, that puts Venezuela to shame. You go down to 15,000 feet, basically anywhere, and so much gas comes out of the ground that the rigs, after they drill them, I mean, they leave these 5-story nozzles on them. They're so huge. Drive out to East Texas, anywhere. Everywhere you drive, it's nothing but giant derricks drilling or giant nozzles where the rig has come in. Guess what else is coming out of these? Helium. All sorts of other great gases. All sorts of other exotic oils. Folks, there's so much oil. The Russians have found so much oil. There's oil everywhere. There's gas everywhere. When they drill these wells in East Texas, from Fort Worth all the way to Houston, just one giant gas field, they hit oil 4 or 5 times on the way down, and there's so much gas, they don't even want the oil. They just cap it off. They start drilling on average a 15,000-foot well, and they hit oil at 1,000 feet, 5,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 16,000, but just oil. They'll hit gas over and over again, and they just greedily keep digging down to that super mother lode, ladies and gentlemen. And this little bastard, this little liar, he knows. He comes on and tells you there's artificial scarcity, just like the De Beers and the Oppenheimers, with the diamonds claiming diamonds are scarce when they're not even hardly semi-precious. In Africa, they just lay around on the ground everywhere. But they have a monopoly over it, so they have giant warehouses all over Europe. This is admitted. So see, it's the same thing. Oil, they're telling you there's no oil, and they're claiming the economic crisis is because we're on an oil economy. They want feudalism. They don't want a free market. He told a bunch of other lies. It was just disgusting. That rat bastard. Muchas